Hello there, it's Carrie Rhodes here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and a new card making video. Today I am playing with the Glimmer Hot Foil Kit of the Month from Spellbinders for January 2023. This is the flower delivery set. It has 5 plates, 5 dies, and it comes with 1 roll of foil. Now, when hot foiling this, I discovered that this was a really good set to talk about troubles with hot foiling. Have you ever had any? I hot foil all the time and I still have trouble with it. So I thought today we would go over some of those troubles, ways to fix them, and kind of some crazy things you can do to fix trouble with hot foiling. So here I hot foiled all 3 plates at once, and you can see the very solid car did not foil as well as my flowers and my sentiment. So when hot foiling a solid plate like this, it has a lot of solid coverage. It's not a line image. I like to put the plate vertically and make sure I'm using very smooth foil. And then I'm going to make sure to run that through nice and slow and see what we get. Now I have a shim between my 2 plates. I like to use a shim. I find it very helpful. Do what works best for your machine. Try a shim and see if it works. And I had very good results on this. So then I wanted to make sure and refoil the flowers and the sentiment by themselves. You can see when I laid this down, my flowers are up top and my little sentiments at the bottom. I didn't tape anything down, just running it through. But sometimes when you're running stuff through and you have more than 1 plate, it can go bumpity bump, bouncy bounce, and then things don't foil good. So especially a tiny little die. So I recommend paper, foil pretty side up, plate face down, tape it in place, run it through. That's going to be the best thing for your teeny tiny little plates. And then when you are done, you are able to die cut this out individually just as well. But it does take another step because you can't run all 3 of these plates together at the same time. As far as I'm concerned, for best results. So there you have our nice little sentiment, all hot foiled, ready to go. Okay, so I'm storing these, speaking of troubleshooting, on a magnetic plate because there are the tiniest hot foil plates I've ever seen. Now, when I've done hot foiling videos before, you've probably heard this from me, you don't want to put tape over your hot foil when you're die cutting out your thing because it will dull out the foil. It will take away some of the shine where that tape is. Now, this does depend on the foil you're using, the paper you're using, the tape you're using, the pressure of your machine. There's a lot of factors, but I'm going to show you exactly what I mean here when I die cut out my pieces, because there's dies to cut out the window of the car, the windows, and to tape those in place, it's going to dull out the foil. I'll show you right here exactly what I mean. This was that perfectly foiled car, and you can see it removed some of the foiling. It made it dull right there. Now, because the nature of this particular die set is that you're going to set the flowers on top of the car, or really you can, it can cover that up. So it doesn't have to be a big deal. Also, you don't have to die cut the windows out of the car, but what if you want to? Those dies came with the set. I want to use them. I'm going to use them. So let's troubleshoot some things to do. Maybe I want to change out my tape. I want to use paper tape. It seems to have a different kind of tackiness to it. Maybe that will make a difference. No, it did not. Not for me. Not with my paper. Not with my die machine. Okay, so let's try a plate on my die machine that has magnets. You can see how fun that is when the die shoots all over the place trying to find the magnets. Then you try to run both at the same time. The dies are now magnetic and they're sticking to each other. So let's run one through at a time. By the way, I did practice this on a car that didn't foil very well. So that's why it already looks dulled out, because I was playing with different papers. So that's why it already looks dull. But I did find this method with the magnetic plates to work really well. So if you have a plate for your die machine with magnets, try that. Okay, next I thought, what if I make my dies sticky? Like you spray pixie spray on the back of a stencil. I could take my two-way glue pen and really just precisely put the adhesive where I want it to go. You let the two-way glue dry and it becomes tacky, like pixie spray. So while that's drying, I am going to hot foil a car. And you see, I ran that plate through and then back towards me. Now, when you do that, you might get the bumpity bump, and you don't want that because it will double foil. So just hold your plate down with one hand as it rolls through on both sides. And then once you're holding that in place, it won't jump as much. Okay, so here's the dry dies, and I have a beautifully hot foiled car. I am now placing them where I want them to go. They could have been slightly more tacky, but this worked really super good. I would totally do this again. This would probably be the technique that I would use, and something I could keep in my toolbox to use later with other plates and die combinations. So that was my favorite. Look how good. Perfect. I'm going to use this to make a card, but first, let's try the crazy thing, right? If I have the idea, I'm going to do it. I'm going to share it with you, and you can tell me yes or no. Carrie, you're crazy. I'm not doing that. So I die cut the car first. Then I laid the hot foil plate on and used it as a template so I could lay the windows on and cut them out so I could later hot foil over this. So I carefully picked up the car. I'm carefully laying down my tape, sticking it to the paper first, and then kind of folding it down over the dies. And now I have a die cut car with the windows cut from it. So here's all my pieces. I got the outline, the plate, the die cut car, hot foil, and a piece of paper tape. I'm going to first put down the car. Next, I'm going to stick down the hot foil, and I'm really going to like press it, iron it, make it flat. I can see the outline of the car now. I'm going to put my outline or template down so I can have a guide as to where to stick my car, my hot foil plate. I am taping this in place, and then you can see I just want to make sure I have an outline all the way around the outside of the car where I can see the foil. I could have scooted a little bit more. I had a feeling, but I decided it was fine and ran it through, putting it face down on my preheated plate. I decided to take out the shim because I already had a shim of that paper tape. Really, it acted like a shim. I'm going to run this through and back, and you see how I'm holding that plate down? Even when it goes through the machine, I grab the other side, hold it down, run it back, be very careful, and go slow with that. So now I can test this and see, how did I do? Does this technique work? Well, a lot of the foil is going to stick to the tape. That's fine. We don't need that. And then the car itself, did it foil well, and did it cut out the windows? It did pretty good. Like I said, I could have centered it a little bit better. That's the crazy thing you can do, but that idea might come in handy later for something else. So let's jump in and make card number 1. This is going to be the easy card, okay? And then we're going to do a little stepped up version. So I have the embossing folder of the month, also from Spellbinders. They have several different kit options. I love the embossing folder of the month. So I'm going to take my universal platform system and follow the directions on that to run this through. I have lightly taped this in place because it's one of those patterns that you want to make sure that you have it straight. It's not going to be as cute if I get it crooked. So a little bit of that paper tape really does well. It peels off nicely. Didn't remove any of the cardstock when I peeled it off. So there's my background for card number 1. So gorgeous. It makes just a really beautiful background very quickly. Now I'm going to add some splatter to this next. So this is some I've had from my stash. It is not still available. It's peaches and cream, but it kind of dries to like a rose gold color, which happens to be the color of the foil I got in my kit. Sometimes foil colors may vary. So if you didn't get the same color of foil as I did, that's why. Okay, so now let's put the card together. I have a strip of vellum here. I'm sticking down that adhesive you can see, but I am going to stick my car right over the top of it with some foam squares, so no biggie. And then my flowers are going to go on top. Yes, I know, I'm covering up that spot where it wouldn't have mattered if I had perfect hot foiling, right? I know that, but I have to help you. I have to help you troubleshoot ideas, right? Okay, so now I am tying a little bit of twine onto my tag that says, yay. I thought this could be a cool, just married kind of car with like the little cans coming off the back, but instead it's going to be a little tag. It does stick off my car a little bit more than I would want it to, and I could have die cut this so the yay was closer to the hole in the tag and trimmed the tag a little shorter. That would have been perfect, but it's going to be fine. There is my quick and simple card with this set, and now let's move on to card number 2. We're going to take things up a notch now. Okay, we're going to take the same embossing folder, and on the side where the lines are raised up, I'm going to take a white ink pad and just brush this on. I'm going to get like a really nice coating, so I'm going over it a few times, but with a really light hand so that the ink just is on the raised up part and it's not going to get down onto the plastic around it. I'm going to take my paper on the other side and tape it. This time I don't want the tape on top because I want lines all over the whole panel. So I put a roll of tape behind, and then I embossed, and look at this. So my lines are pressed down into the paper and they're white on this navy piece. It's so gorgeous. We're going to let that dry and do some watercoloring. I die cut out 4 of these flowers. I'm going to have these be in the corner of my card. So I'm going to use my metallic watercolors to watercolor this in. It was so fun to do. You have the lines of the hot foiling that's shimmery and shiny, and then the metallic watercolor. It's so gorgeous. But also, if you let the watercolor dry over the top of your hot foiling, it can make it a little dull. So if you get it on the lines, and it's, you know, it's really only if you have like a really concentrated amount of watercolor, you might want to try to wipe that away. So that's my little tip for you there, but it's not a hard thing to do at all. Plus, watercoloring should be loose and flowy and not perfect, and I like to have a little bit of white showing for a highlight. So there's a close-up look at how gorgeous these are, and I'm going to take the large die of the Munch, which by the way was a super huge die set. I have a video for that. I'll link at the end of this one so you can watch it next. It's the most gorgeous floral die cut set. I just used a few of the dies from that set, and then I cut some florals to go with my car and my card. So I'm putting each of those hot foiled flower clusters in the corner with some vines with the help of some foam tape and a touch of glue on the end of the vines. For the flowers, I'm going to accent them with my B34 Copic marker so they have like a darker blue center, and then I'm adding these baubles from Trinity Stamps. They're white with the iridescent finish. It just goes with the shine in my hot foiling really well, and they're called Something New. So I'll link those for you below, and then I'm adding some leaves, and these are going to go on top of my car. So again, I'm covering the part of the car that would have been dulled out by tape. So I get the irony in this right now. I put the flowers in the corner of the card so I can use the car without the flowers on top, and then I end up putting different flowers on top. Yeah, but that's just how life worked out today. So there's my cute car with the blue flowers. I think it's really fun little image to use, and so many different ways you could use this. So I have a plate from my stash. It's one of the really long skinny sentiment sets. Spellbinders has these all the time, or they've had lots of them in the past. So I've saved mine. I can use them whenever I need, like this. Congratulations. And I'm going to stick this right on the car. I use the same foil on some light blue cardstock. If you need tips on hot foiling with colored cardstock, I have a video for that too. I'll link my hot foiling playlist at the end also. So if you want other ideas and tips for hot foiling, you'll find it there. And then I am taking the clear stamp of the month, speaking of gorgeous things, and using it to accent the inside of my card. And I did that before I adhered down the front panel. And then I have this really pretty light colored inside that I can even write over the top of. So added that to my card base, which by the way, this card is 5 inches by 7 inches. I love an A7. They're big and fun and just feel extra special. So there it is with the pretty flowers on the inside. And here you can see both cards, my simple version, my stepped up version, and I really hope you got some hot foiling tips. I know it is easy to have trouble hot foiling. I still have it now, but I have learned so much from hot foiling over the years that I kind of know these tips and tricks and have them in my back pocket to use. So I hope you got some of those tips and tricks for your own back pocket. And if you have questions for me about hot foiling, leave them below. I love to chat with you. And I have plenty of new videos coming out soon. So if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, and you can check out the club kits in the links below as well. Happy stamping! Bye!